Most people think the same thoughts day after day, which is an absolute tragedy, both directions. You probably think the same thoughts day after day, which is a tragedy. Everybody you see out in the world, they are all thinking the same thoughts day after day, which is a tragedy, because you can utilize the thoughts inside your brain to come up with an ideal personality type that you can take with you into social situations. Imagine you're going to a party and you're walking down the hallway of an apartment building. And as you're about to go into the party, as you're about to knock on the door where the party is, a couple of gorgeous girls come out. And they look at you like they want to fuck the shit out of you. You would be like, holy crap, that would put you in a fantastic mood. And you would take this fantastic mood into the party, and that would inform your experience at that party. That would drive your behavior at the party. That would induce you, compel you to act like a persuasive, confident, extroverted seduction superhero at that party. Unfortunately, most people don't have this experience, and therefore most people don't carry deliberately created personality traits anywhere. We expect the world to do it for us. We expect the things around us to do it for us. But you have an amazing amount of resources inside your brain. Imagine if you lived in a huge mansion. Imagine with a monstrous kitchen. A monstrous kitchen with an infinite amount of raw materials, an infinite amount of ingredients, a ton of different cooking machines, cooking appliances, ovens, frying pans, instant pots, air fryers, deep fryers, waffle makers, nut grinders, all kinds of stuff. But all you ate every day was a plain cheese sandwich on white, untoasted bread without any mustard, without any mayo, without any lettuce, without any tomatoes. That's how most people use their brain. You have a vast collection of resources in your brain, and you're not using any of them. However, if you start to understand what's possible, if you start to understand the resources that exist inside your brain, you can deliberately reference memories. You can choose to reference memories that can build up into the ideal personality trait that you can take with you anywhere. How do you do this? Well, inside your own brain, it's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is take some time in your downtime when you're not just about to go into a party with fantastic people that are desperate for somebody like you to seduce them and show them a good time, and come up with 5 or so good memories. 5 memories of confidence, 5 memories of being extroverted. It doesn't matter if they're from when you were 5 years old in kindergarten or however old you were in kindergarten. Come up with 5 fantastic memories and put each one on a finger and practice remembering these 5 memories. Practice making them as rich and as emotionally powerful as you possibly can. And then practice firing these 5 memories to put yourself in an ideal state. The best part is you can make up these memories. Most of your memories are false anyways. So come up with 5 memories that are sort of true and just remember them as if they were true. This will put you in a fantastic state of mind. This is how you can use your own memories, your own collection of resources that already exist inside your brain, and come up with a personality you'd like to carry with you into social situations. But you can do this with other people too. You can augment their personality covertly, subconsciously, and conversationally to put them in the right mood to get them to do whatever you want. This is an amazing way to persuade people covertly. This is an amazing way to persuade people subconsciously. Now, the go-to method for being able to do this, to put somebody in the right mood, to get them to take on some behavior that you like, is to kind of come in from the outside of their brain and tell them stories. This is a fantastic way, and it works very, very well. You need to come up with a collection of hypnotic stories stories. You need to tell them hypnotic stories, which means you should practice telling hypnotic stories on your downtime when you're driving in your car. But you don't have to do this because there's a technique in psychology called identity priming, where you ask people questions about certain personality traits they may or may not have. And if you ask them whether or not they have a positive personality trait, they will find memories that validate that personality trait. So all you have to do is think of the decision you'd like them to make. And then think of the personality that would be congruent with that decision that you'd like them to make. And then ask them questions. Ask them questions that elicit that personality trait. Like, when was the last time you felt very adventurous? When you think of all the times where you feel very adventurous, does this happen spontaneously, or do you decide to become adventurous? When you think of all the times where you decide to leave the social pack behind and think and act for yourself, how do you do this? Is this something you do consciously, or is this something you do unconsciously? Is this a response to the environment, or are you more proactive? Because proactive people are much more likely to leave the pack behind. Here's an interesting tidbit from psychology. I was listening to this podcast the other day, and this psychologist was talking about the difference between romantic movies and horror movies. And when people watch horror movies, it makes us much more likely to stay within the pack, to stay within the safety of numbers. So if you're thinking about this from a marketing perspective and you want someone to act in accordance with social proof, show them a horror movie. But if you want someone to step outside the pack and think for themselves, show them a romantic movie. This works both ways. Whenever you induce somebody through your questions to think of a time where they were able to step away from the hive mind and think for themselves, this will much more likely put them in a romantic mood with you. So you can use these techniques. You can use questions to elicit personality states in other people, because after all, most people are not using even a small fraction of their brain. And if they're not using your brain, if they're not using their brain, you might as well use their brain for your own benefit. So long as they believe they're getting some benefit out of the deal, it's very, very easy. So think about your brain. Think about the thoughts that exist in your brain. Think about how you can put together the ideal thoughts that will make you become very persuasive, that will make you become very seductive, that will make you become very charismatic and outgoing. And whenever you see all the people out in the world, see them as being filled with absolute raw materials that you can use to get inside their brain, manipulate their thoughts, create the ideal personality in them so they will behave exactly the way you want them to behave to help you get your needs met. If you'd like to learn how to do this, check out the links below. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you next time.